Hello, everyone. My name is Noemi Gutierrez. I'm a Spanish speaking specialist at the Priority Center's Outreach and Engagement Program. Today, we'll be talking about understanding the bereavement process, coping with loss. So you can have a little bit of an overview of our presentation today. We're going to be talking about what is bereavement, myths and facts, 5 stages of grief, COVID-19 grief, grief in children, grief in teens, coping methods for all ages, when to seek help, resources. What is bereavement? Bereavement is a period of mourning after a loss and includes feelings of sadness, loneliness, anguish, disbelief, hopelessness, helplessness, guilt, anxiety, fear, and anger. Today, we will mostly touch on grief from death of a loved one, but any loss, whether it be a loss of a job, a friendship, anything to COVID-19, an empty nest as older children move out, or a death of a beloved pet, can be just as painful and difficult. Myths and facts. Myth 1. Grief should last about a year. Although the first year is the most difficult due to anniversaries and holidays, there is no set timeline for grief. Myth 2. Losing a pet is hardly reason to be mourning. One can love a pet just as much as a child and experience the loss of unconditional love. Myth 3. If you don't cry, it means you haven't been infected by the loss. There are many reactions to loss, only one of which is crying. Some people don't cry easily or often. Feeling that you don't have to hide your feelings can help the healing process. Myth 4. Moving on with your life means forgetting about your loss. Moving on might mean you have accepted, but that is not the same as forgetting. Memories can and do become an important part of how we remember, as well as who we become. 5 stages of grief. So, phase 1, denial and shock. This is refusing to believe death has occurred, is a natural coping technique. To move forward, it helps to think about your feelings about the loss. Phase 2, anger and guilt. Feelings of frustration, anxiety, shame, and guilt arise. Find ways to express anger constructively to help prevent long-lasting depression. Phase 3, bargaining. You may believe there is something you can do to change reality through bargaining. It is common to struggle to find meaning at this time. Stage 4, sadness. Feeling of intense sadness are likely. To move forward, try to accept support and to cope with changes that are happening. Stage 5, acceptance. Sadness will become less intense. You begin to accept that life goes on. Energy returns and you start looking into the future. A new model of grief. A new model of grief, however, has been proposed by Tony Walter in 1996, who indicated that the stage models are helpful. They make grief appear as if they have to go through stages in order to have completed the grief process. And when those expectations don't happen or don't happen in what is considered the correct order, the bereaved individual can think there is something wrong with them. This is to remind us that grief is as personal as a fingerprint. It is uniquely yours and is ultimately the process of the individual. But with every grief, it must not be processed alone. Emotions associated with loss. Sadness, betrayal, confusion, slowed thinking, frustration, separation, anxiety, anger, loneliness, regret, or guilt, and disappointment. Additional common emotions to recognize in children and teens after loss: numbness, irritability, fear, dependency, immature behavior, regression, physical or verbal aggression, social isolation, increase of headaches or stomach aches, withdrawal, mistrust, acting out, regret or guilt, depression or suicidal thoughts, difficulty communicating, use of alcohol or drugs, self-harm, and struggle in school. Possible physical reactions to loss: difficulty sleeping, trouble thinking clearly, headaches, loss of energy, fatigue, nausea, reduced immunity, changes in appetite, weight loss or gain, increase in aches and pains. Factors that influence our reaction. This would be like the context of the loss, whether it was anticipated, unexpected, or tragic. Nature of the relationship to the loss. Person, place, situation, pet, prior life experience with loss, stability at the time of the loss, coping style, available support networks and resources. The reality of COVID-19. COVID-19 has brought on a whole set of challenges when it comes to bereavement and grief. Grief has been experienced by many all over the world for many reasons, including loss of a job, loss of a loved one, loss of routine, loss of social contact, loss of friendship, loss of identity, and so many more losses. Think about this for a minute. Have you ever experienced any type of loss this past year due to COVID? Have you moved forward? To move on, how to help children cope with loss of life. Don't be afraid to talk about the person who died. Use honest, simple language. Listen and acknowledge feelings. Be a model for expressing feelings about the loss. Use humor or storytelling. Read appropriate books on the topic. Keep a diary. Be patient. Play with them. Create rituals. Remember birthdays, special food, etc. Visit the gravesite if helpful and wanted by the child. Limit exposure to upsetting media or news. Maintain routines. Find support groups or counseling. How to help teens cope. What can I do to help my teen? Allow the venting of feelings. Encourage them to talk about the person they have lost. Watch for unusual behaviors or symptoms. Make sure they are getting appropriate sleep, exercise, and nutrition. Get back into routine. Contact school or community resource for support. Spend time with them, but also give them space. Support from adults and friends is very important. Allow them to vent and spend time with good, close friends. Give them time and understand that the grieving process is longer for teens due to the process being delayed by teens' desire to fit in and be dependent. Coping for all ages. Take the time to self-care physically. Increase self-compassion and your ability to allow yourself to cry and process your grief. Allow yourself to talk about your loss and your memories of your loved one. Write in a journal. Continue to build connections with others. If you have a support available, let them know what you need. Create a family tree. Create a memory book. Write your last words to the person who passed away and put it in a balloon. Then let it go into the air. Go to individual therapy, grief group, or family therapy, and give yourself time. When it can become a problem. Complicated grieving. Signs of complicated grieving. More than 6 months for children, more than 12 months for adults. This is difficulty accepting the loss, inability to have positive memories or of the loved one, anger and self-blame, depression, feelings of emptiness or meaningless, diminished sense of identity. Important to seek professional help if you are unable to perform daily activities, feel as if life isn't worth living, blame yourself excessively for the loss, are soothing your pains daily with alcohol or abusing a prescribed medication. where to seek help for grieving. For all ages, there's group therapy, all ages individual therapy, art therapy for all ages. Grief camps are good for children and teens, play and sand tray therapy for children, outreach and engagement program, we are here for you. We offer at no cost short-term case management, short-term counseling, mental health screening for depression and or anxiety, educational workshops, virtual webinars, and one-on-one skill building session. Check out the cities we serve and our flyers and our virtual booth downloads and resources. And here are other additional resources you can look into. We have grief groups and camps on the left and other websites you can find these at. We have the National Alliance on Mental Health helpline. We have the 911 in case of emergency, 211 for database of resources, the warm line, and our outreach and engagement info line, which is at 1-888-955-6770. Books on loss. Thank you so much for attending this video presentation and have a nice rest of your day.